We're going to show you a little bit up close and personal look at Armand Bayou. And I've got a couple of students with me. I've got Matt and Tommy, and we're going to talk a little bit about habitat. Now, we're right in the water, and this is probably one of the places I'd rather be. And we're looking at an up-close personal look at some of the vegetation that's around here. We've got a couple of questions and some things we're going to discuss with you this morning.
So, Eddie, why do we need to plant wetlands in Galveston Bay?
We need to plant wetlands in Galveston Bay to replace some of the 35,000 acres of wetland that we've lost. We're looking at an area that is in the process of being restored, and we're going to plant a few plants in just a minute. But these plants are important mainly for marine habitat. 80% of the marine organisms depend on these marshes at some time in their life cycle, either for growing up, for their food, or for escape and cover.
Are we still losing wetlands?
Yes, tragically, we're still losing some wetlands. Now, we've discussed a little bit about subsidence, and subsidence is under control. And subsidence is one of the problems we've got in Armand Bayou. But because we think we've got it under control, we use volunteers sometimes to plant and restore some of this vegetation in this area. Back to why we do the plantings. We plant because that accelerates the process of reestablishing wetlands. We could just let these areas recover naturally, but it may take 50 to 100 years to do that. But by planting, we accelerate that process of restoration and accomplish the same thing maybe in 5 to 10 years.
So what plants are best for planting?
We've got some examples of a few plants that are best for planting. This one happens to be smooth cordgrass. It's a plant that's adapted to grow in our estuary. It tolerates salinities up to 25 parts per thousand, up to sea strength. So it's adaptable to grow in the water, in that environment. We've got another plant that we're going to plant in just a minute. This is California bulrush. Even though it's California bulrush and we're in Texas, it's native to Texas. It just grows all throughout the southern United States, but it's also adapted to grow in deeper water. Now, we're at a pretty high tide today. Normally the tide is only about a foot in elevation, but we've had some real strong winds the last couple of days, and it's pushed the water way back up into the bayou. So we're about a foot and a half higher than our normal tide.
Why do we need volunteers for marsh planting?
Well, if you notice, we've got shirts that say Marsh Mania. Marsh Mania was started several years ago using volunteers to plant vegetation, and also using Earth Team volunteers with our agency. And then using this, we can accomplish a whole lot more with less money, and that's a good thing to do. And volunteers also, it's a good opportunity to do education. Whenever we do volunteer plantings, we take people out and teach them about the importance of restoring wetlands and how valuable wetlands are.
So how much has been accomplished?
Well, with our Marsh Mania, we've planted about 50 acres using about 1,500 volunteers. We've accomplished a lot more also with using government grants. We've planted about 2,000 acres of wetlands in and around Galveston Bay.
Where are those sites that have been restored?
Well, most of the sites have been restored from East Bay to West Bay. We've concentrated lately on Armand Bayou because Armand Bayou is a very pristine stream. It's one of those streams that's never been channelized, never been dredged out. It's natural. Of course, it's been influenced by subsidence and it's destroyed a lot of the habitat, but we're concentrating on planting in areas that are good for wildlife habitat. We stay away from concentrated areas of population because that's not where fish and wildlife like to occur, but we stay in the back areas like Armand Bayou.
Are there any plants that we don't want to plant?
Yes, we've got a few examples of plants that we do not want. Take the mic for me. First one I want to talk about is a plant called water hyacinth. It's one that causes problems here in Armand Bayou. You notice it floats on the surface. It's got swollen stems. There's a ball right in the middle of the stem. This is filled with air that allows the plant to float. What happens is it's so rapidly growing that it floats on areas and then the wind covers and it will actually smother good areas of habitat that we try to restore. Some places I've seen this as much as a foot deep and it just covers and smothers the habitat that we do want. Got another plant that's very, very similar. It's called water lettuce. This is another plant that was introduced. It's native to South America. It's not as bad a problem as water hyacinth, but it does cause some of the problem too. And we've got one more plant in a bucket that I dug up, and I'm not going to leave it out here. This is one that's really causing a lot of problems in Armand Bayou. It's called elephant ear. People have been cleaning out their gardens or the yards, and much as trash, you throw trash in the bayou. We don't want to throw plants in the bayou either, because a lot of things can escape, such as elephant ear. It might be nice in somebody's garden, but we don't need it in our native environment. We do have some animals that do cause problems. I've got a shell from a channel apple snail. This plant eats vegetation. It's been mostly concentrated in around Armand Bayou right now. They get quite large, and they do eat nothing but vegetation. And we've had areas where we've planted vegetation that have become destroyed because the apple snail has eaten them all up. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to have show you some examples of how we plant vegetation. Now, keep in mind, this is a very high tide right now, but we're going to show you what we try to do.
Okay, I'm going to take the dibble and stick it in the ground and make a big hole so that Mr. Eddie can stick the plant in.
We take the plant. Now, we don't need a whole lot of root system on the plant. You notice it's bare root. It's barren. So we'll go down and find that hole. Stick the plant in. Now, it's even at high tide, you can see some of the plant is still up above the water. This is important because it needs sunlight in order to grow. We'll take another one. We'll take some of this California bulrush. You notice this is a lot taller plant. This will actually grow in much deeper water. You notice the extensive root system. One of the big benefits for reestablishing vegetation, especially on the edge of the shoreline, is that these root systems will establish themselves and really anchor the soil and keep it in place. Notice the extensive root system. It will also make another structure called a rhizome that will extend out, and in some cases both smooth cordgrass and this plant called California bulrush will spread at least 2 to 3 feet a year. So you can see just from a very small beginning we can make excellent progress. Let's go ahead and plant this one.
Okay.
And after we plant, if you'll go ahead and you can feel with your foot and push down on that mud. Now the bottom here is soft. It's not we're sinking in about 3 or 4 inches. It's not that soft, but it's firm enough that once we put these plants in the root system into that muck and anchor them in, they will stay in place. And in a very, very short period of time, that root system will start growing. Now, it's also important, I mentioned before, but this plant needs oxygen to grow, and both plants will actually take in oxygen through their leaf system, transport it down, and transport that oxygen down to their root system. We're just about through looking at this habitat. We hope you enjoy some of the scenery that we have around Armand Bayou. It's actually a very, very beautiful place. And thank you all very much.